Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today we're jumping into some nuclear revenge. Before we start, today's Would You Rather question ties in really nicely to the first story. Unfortunately, would you rather be cheated on by your SO with one of your parents or cheated on by your SO with one of your siblings? Comment down below. Our first story today comes to us from Nika Markey 99. I found out my sister has been boinking my boyfriend behind my back. I get even. Let's jump right in. I have never ever thought I would be telling this story on Reddit of all effing places. But since I've been seeing everyone share their revenge stories, I got a little inspired. So I thought I would share mine. Beware, long post ahead. Little backstory first. I was born into a broken family. My father was a drug addict. My mother, on the other hand, was the kindest, strongest woman I know. Fortunately, they separated just after the birth of my younger sister, who was only younger than me by a year. I took after my mother, and I say this in the most non-cocky way. I did well in school and got good grades. I was pretty and fit. I was kind to everyone who deserved it. My sister, though, apart from my mother's looks, she got everything else from dad. Now, the thing is, my father was a horrible effing person, even before he became a drug addict. He was an arrogant, selfish, insufferable prick, and not only that, he also cheated on my mother multiple times while she was pregnant with me and my sister. He was so horrible to the point that when he left, my mother said that it was the happiest day of her life. She continued raising us all by herself, while my dad went to God knows where. And you know what? I have never even missed him. 18 years later, and me and my sister are all grown up, and the thing is, we've never really been that close. We fought a lot when we were younger, but it was all usual sibling fights. As we grew, we fought less and less, and we were able to coexist like all siblings do. And though I didn't express it all the time, I did love her. Here's where it all goes to crap. In my senior year of high school, I started dating one of my classmates. He had just transferred during that year and said that he liked me immediately and asked me to go out with him if I was interested. I gave the guy a chance. It goes extremely well, and just 2 months later, we were officially dating. He was sweet, would treat me to lunch, take me to places, and was just a great boyfriend overall. We continued to date through our first year and second year of college, and he comes over at our house pretty frequently, and my mom even lets him stay the night. It came to the point that he would come there even when I wasn't, and I thought nothing of it. I was even glad that he felt so comfortable there. Until one day, just a month before our anniversary, I texted him that I would be home later than usual because I still had something to do in school. I was already at my third year, and I was busier than I was before. Since we usually go home together, he asks me what time do I think I'll be home, and I said probably after dinner, so he can pick me up then. He says okay. Fortunately though, I managed to finish earlier than I thought, and instead of texting him to pick me up, I decided to surprise him by coming to his house since it's been a while since we spent time together and I missed him. When I got there, his sister, whom I was very close with, was visibly confused and immediately asks me what I was doing there. I told her that I was there to see her brother, and she becomes even more confused and says, "He told me he was coming to your house to see you though. He left hours ago." This time, I'm the one who's confused. And so I quickly turned around and went home. Thankfully, our houses were only 15 minutes apart from each other, so I got there quickly. The next 20 minutes were like hell. I came home to find his bike outside. The house was dark, and I tried my best to go inside as quietly as I could. By the time I got up the stairs, I hear it. Moans. Female and male. The male ones sounding particularly like my boyfriend. Tears immediately flooded my eyes. I didn't even need to see to know it was him, my boyfriend of almost 3 years, effing my sister. My feet suddenly have a mind of their own, and I yanked the door open. I was seething at this point. The bee was on him like a mechanical bull. I stood there as my now ex pushes her off of him, shocked as he puts his clothes back on in light speed and starts spewing excuses. I wasn't listening at all. I was sobbing so much I couldn't breathe. The butthole follows me all the way downstairs, and I yell at him that if he doesn't leave that instant, I would tell his entire family. He leaves, and I was left with my sister. I couldn't even look at her. I stayed downstairs, calming myself down until my mom came home from work. She immediately notices something is wrong, but I don't tell her yet. Dinner starts, and I felt like crying again. And you know what's even worse? When my sister came down and sat just across from me, I saw no hint of remorse or guilt on her face. Absolutely none. I felt sick. I wanted to vomit, and I swear that at some point during dinner, the evil bee even smirked. A week comes by and I don't say anything. I was so hurt. My ex wasn't saying anything too. No phone calls, texts, nothing. And so did my sister. Not a single effing sorry. I felt so defeated. I was crying multiple times a day and couldn't even focus in school. One day, I finally snapped, and I tell my mother everything. She was extremely disappointed. She scolds my sister, but she didn't even seem to care. And then, suddenly I remembered, my ex had told me his passwords. He had told me early in our relationship, and I never bothered to open because I was never the type to go through my SO's messages. I trusted the mother effer, and this is what I get. Anyway, I managed to open his Messenger account, and there I see hundreds of messages between him and my sister. I felt weak in the knees. It had been going on for almost 4 months then. I took screenshots. It turns out they had been going out while I would be at school. All 3 of us were from different schools. My sister couldn't get into mine because her grades were too low, and so was my boyfriend's. My pain quickly turned into anger, and I wanted nothing more than to make them both pay. I couldn't stomach the sight of my sister. The fact that she would go behind my back like that over some guy made me effing sick. We were supposed to always be there for each other. After a month, I asked my mother if I could move out and live with my aunt for a while because I just couldn't take it anymore. She was sad, but she understood. I felt so sorry for her. She held my sister accountable for what she did, but at the end of the day, she was still her daughter, so she can't completely turn her back on her. I didn't want to give her the burden of having to choose, so I did instead. So I moved out and lived with my aunt, and promised to keep in touch. The next 6 months was basically me putting my crap back together. I became a working student and did some freelance work to earn some money. And as I started to earn more, I dropped out of school completely and became a full-time freelancer. As the months went by, I would earn more and more, and I had more than enough money to spend for myself, and from then on, I started to send money to my mom monthly. One day, I got curious and decided to check on my sister and ex. When I unblocked them, I regretted it instantly. The buttholes were still together, and my sister was even flaunting their relationship on Instagram. Suddenly, it's as if no time has passed by at all, and I was angry yet again. I scroll through more pictures, and it was obvious that my sister was completely in love with him. I acted on anger. I sent the screenshots I took from before and sent it to our cousins and told them everything. They all ended up hating her. And then I sent it to my ex's sister and also told her everything. She punched him and tells their parents, and a day later, I receive a text from them apologizing on behalf of their son. It made me feel slightly better. A week later, my mom asks me to come home to spend the weekend. I decide to say yes this time. I stop by a mall on the way to get a gift from my mom, and guess who I see? My ex-boyfriend with a girl who wasn't my sister holding hands. I laughed hard. The urge to take out my phone to take a picture and send it to my sister was so strong, but I stopped myself. It wouldn't be painful enough. So I hide where he can't see me and followed them. After about an hour, she goes to the bathroom. I follow her there. I approach her when she comes out of the cubicle and say, "Is the guy you're with your boyfriend?" She looked a little bit scared and confused, but she answers yes nonetheless. I quickly tell her that the same guy is currently dating my sister, and even showed her some pictures. The girl was completely horrified. She said she had no idea that he was seeing someone else, and I fought the urge to laugh. I tell her to get rid of him quickly, and I'll tell her everything she needs to know, but also asked her not to dump him yet. So she makes up some excuse to him about an emergency at home, and they go their separate ways for the day. We meet up at a coffee shop close to the mall afterwards. There, I spill everything, including all the details about the cheating. When I finished, she looked so mad, almost as if it happened to her. And then she goes on to reveal that a longtime boyfriend of hers actually cheated on her as well. We talk some more, and as time passed by, I came to discover that the girl was actually really sweet, and I felt sorry that she became a victim of my ex as well. She asked me if I was going to get revenge, and I said yes, but I needed her help. But I also told her she could say no if she didn't want to, but she said she wanted to help. So I told her my plan, and she was all for it. I came home that night excited. My mom seemed pleased, and my sister looked a little pissed. I didn't give an F though, since I had the knowledge that my ex-boyfriend, the guy she destroyed our relationship for, was on his way to destroy her. The girl and I talked for the next 3 weeks I was there, and she would send me screenshots of her and my ex's convos, and also pics of them together. We continued to talk even after I came back to my aunt's house, and exactly 2 months after we met, the plan was finally in action. It was a week before my ex and my sister's anniversary. Yes, they had an anniversary, and I was about to give her the greatest gift. By that time, my ex had confessed to the other girl about his relationship with my sister, but she told him that it was okay and that they could still be together because she didn't care. Little did he know, her and I were basically best friends now and had come up with a master plan to ruin his life. I come home again and spent the week there leading up to their anniversary. It was the longest week of my life. The day finally comes, and after my sister leaves to go to his house, I wait a few hours. Then I FaceTime his sister to ask if the two buttholes were home. She says yes. Then I send it. Dozens of pictures of my ex with the other girl, and screenshots of their conversations. Ones where he was telling her how much he loves her, and how he's planning to leave my sister for her soon. There was one where he even expressed how annoying he found her, and that he sometimes wants to strangle her. A whole bunch of other screenshots where he insults her, calls her stupid, desperate, and many more. He also said she was awful in bed and was way too noisy, and that he barely touched her the past few days. Ouch. But it wasn't enough for me. The final touch was a 3-minute long video of my friend and my ex boinking. Yes, she gave me her full consent to send it. It was hilarious. The butthole was enjoying it so much, and I know my sister would probably have a seizure once she watches it. Afterwards, I wait. I was still on FaceTime with his sister, and after a while, her and I hear it. Screaming, objects being thrown, more screaming. His sister comes upstairs to check on them, and I hear everything. My sister was sobbing, and what's even more effed up is my ex didn't even try to deny any of it, and asked her to just leave. Her sister and I talk some more, and she tells me how she's never liked my sister, and so did their parents. They said that they would ignore her whenever she would come by their house. She would even ask about me sometimes just to piss her off. After about an hour, my sister finally comes home, and I sat there grinning like a devil as she steps into the living room, face puffy from crying. We make eye contact, and I smirked at her and said, "You deserve it," before going upstairs. I don't speak to her again, and for days she refused to even leave her room. The satisfaction I felt was through the roof, and I even told my mom that I could move back in now. But it didn't end there, because my ex had gotten my sister pregnant. A huge part of me wasn't shocked, but my mom was, of course, disappointed. We had to tell the rest of our family, and they were all disappointed with her as well. Before she gave birth, my sister told my mom she was going to move in with my ex's family since they have to take care of their baby, and my mom refused to let him step foot in our house again. But since our houses were really close to each other, she agreed. It was pathetic. It was obvious that she still wanted to be with him even after everything he did, but hey, it wasn't my problem anymore. But according to my ex's sister, though, her parents weren't too happy about the whole thing. And although my ex said he would take responsibility of his child, he didn't want anything to do with my sister anymore. Effing butthole. So I continued to live my life, working, going out, and focusing on becoming even better. It didn't take long for me to finally be happy again, and all the pain and betrayal felt like a distant memory. I reconnected with my old friends and even started dating again. I also kept in touch with the girl who helped me with my revenge. She, of course, has dumped my ex, broken up with him just the day after it all went down. And we're genuinely good friends now and meet when we can. I don't keep in touch with my sister at all, but according to my ex's sister, she's absolutely miserable because she had to drop out of school and my ex barely spoke to her and would always be gone, sometimes for days, and even brought home girls on multiple occasions. He also wasn't there when she gave birth. I didn't feel sorry for her at all since she chose to stay with him, but I did feel sorry for the kid for having those two buttholes as his parents. They would go to our house at least 3 times a week to see my mother, and my sister would completely ignore my existence. Guess what? The bee still hasn't apologized. I didn't really care at that point, so ignored it. But one time, I kindly offered to buy her baby some clothes, and she fixed me with the nastiest look before saying, "We don't need your effing money." I was appalled, and then I was pissed again. Alright then, if that's how she wanted to play. Funnily enough, I ran into my ex at a bar just a couple days later. He looks effing terrible, and I questioned what I even saw in him. He sees me and actually looks happy. I, on the other hand, no longer felt anything for him, only disgust. He tries to make conversation, telling me I looked great, and even apologizes. I was shocked, but his apology didn't really mean crap to me anymore. Later that night, I received a bunch of messages from him. He was apologizing again, and then went on to say how much he regrets cheating on me, before begging for another chance, and swears that this time things would be different, and that he was going to change for me. I laughed so hard I fell off my bed. The ocean would dry up before I'll even think about taking his butt back. But since my sister pissed me off once again, and I was feeling a little petty, I sent her the screenshots of those messages, with the caption, "This is your baby daddy?" I knew she was still in love with him, even after everything, and I knew that it would hurt her to see how he's willing to change for me, but not for her, the mother of his darn child. He barely even gave her money for their child. It was only ex's parents and my mom who supported her financially. She blocked me. And no, I don't ever take my ex back. Last I heard, he started using drugs. Fast forward to now, I continue to thrive while she continues to be miserable. We recently had a family reunion, and at one point, she says to our relatives that she's having a hard time. And one of our cousins looks at her dead in the eyes and says, "Well, maybe if you hadn't effed your sister's boyfriend, you wouldn't be in this position." She was absolutely dumbfounded, and there were tears in her eyes, and I almost choked on my wine to keep from laughing. She probably didn't think they knew. Well, now she does, and they all didn't bother to hide how much they despised her. She had no one on her side, and was considered the disappointment of the family, but she only has herself to blame. Now, OP added an edit on at the end. It says, "By the way, if anyone gets confused why we still lived with our parents during college, I am Filipina and this happened in the Philippines. Here, we don't move out until we have kids, and sometimes not even then. Some people don't believe, and honestly, I understand. I wish it was fake, truly. This particular event has caused so much stress on our entire family, but I do get some of y'all." About the girl who helped me, I was actually really shocked myself with how willing she was to participate. There definitely had been times where I was scared she would out me to my ex and sister, but I guess it all just reminded her of the situation with her ex, and she also seemed mad about being made into a side chick. I didn't expect she would send a video. I asked her so many times if she was sure. My ex was a horrible person, but he was attractive and good in bed. as much as I hate to admit. She basically used him for it, and I don't find anything wrong with that. He deserved it. And to be honest, I would have done the same if it was the other way around. I get why it might seem made up, but I've literally witnessed much wilder crap happen. I had a friend who got sent a video of her then boyfriend and another girl boinking as well. The girl sent it because she wanted her boyfriend to herself. It happens more frequently than one might think. Bees can be messy as F these days, but again, I get why it might seem unbelievable. Believe what you want, it's not like it would affect any of us negatively. What's done is done, have a good day. I can't believe the gall of this guy to actually try and get back together with her afterwards. Like, hey, would you like to come and try and co-parent the child of the sister I cheated on you with? Wouldn't that make them like Uncle Daddy and Auntie Mom? Check out OP, linked in the description down below. If you haven't yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button on the KCC channel. I thank you for watching, I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.